Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of my stack and tilt versus conventional swing series. Now last week in part 1 we went over how each method defines their fundamentals and the differences in the setup position. So in this video I'll be going over the main differences of both swing methods. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to see more golf related content. So let's start by comparing both swing styles from the front view first and then from the side view. Now from the front view with the conventional swing, I want to go over 3 points mainly. Okay, so the first is the weight shift. Okay, so setting up in this position encourages that initial weight shift off the ball where the upper body is going to move a little bit more so kind of away from the ball during the backswing. Okay, just kind of like this. Now the second point is that the shoulders, as you turn, will be turning fairly level to the ground. Okay, that means that wherever the line of the shoulders is, it'll be turning fairly parallel to the ground like this. Okay, and again, all that does is that it just makes it easier for the upper body to be moving more so to the right or to the trail side. Now the third point is that if you pay attention to my trail knee, as I take my backswing, my trail knee does not straighten out, it stays bent. Okay, you've probably heard the saying of turning into your trail leg. Well, that's a conventional swing kind of method, if you will. So overall, the 3 main points after setup is that there is an initial weight shift off the ball. Okay, the shoulders will be turning fairly level to the ground. Okay, and the trail knee will stay flexed or bent. Now with the stack and tilt method, if you review the setup position a little bit, now the weight is distributed more so on the lead side, 55% versus 45% approximately. Okay, now with the weight a little bit more so on the lead side, that encourages the center of the shoulders and the center of the hip to be positioned more so on top of the golf ball instead of behind, like the conventional swing. Okay, so with those centers kind of over top of the ball, okay, now there is no need for any weight shift off the ball. Okay, so that's the first difference between the stack and tilt golf swing and the conventional swing. Now second, with stack and tilt, to promote more of a centered turn, the shoulders will actually tilt from the start. So that would mean that the shoulders, or the lead shoulder, would kind of drop lower in relation to the trail shoulder. Okay, and then that just allows the golfer to turn around the center so that the center of the shoulders and the center of the hip has no kind of separation at all. So it just kind of stays on top of each other as the player takes the club back. The last difference has to do with the trail knee. As you turn around the center, there will be more of a change in flex in the knee, so the trail knee will actually straighten out slightly. Okay, so now from the side view, just to give you another visual perspective of those same points that we went over. Now with the conventional swing, we know that there's an initial weight shift off the ball, right? So when you're turning or making your backswing, the shoulders will turn more level to the ground. So it would kind of look more like this, okay? So there's not much tilt in my lead shoulder versus my right shoulder, okay? And the second point was that my trail leg, or both knees, would kind of stay more bent, okay? There's not much change in flex like this. Okay, so the only problem is when a player takes their backswing with the shovels very low level and the legs very bent like this, you limit your ability to turn your body in the backswing. So you're making it harder on yourself. Whereas with the stack and tilt swing, you're told to kind of tilt your shoulders as you turn. There's more of a change in knee flex. Okay, so now at the top of my backswing here, you can see that there's more of a tilt to where my lead shoulder is a lot more lower than in relation to my trail shoulder. Okay, my trail knee has actually straightened out slightly as my lead leg kind of bent more forward. Okay, so if I can do this with my knees, that allows my hips to open up a lot more, which gives my upper body more mobility to turn as well. So the next difference between the stack and tilt golf swing and the conventional swing is the direction of the hands and the club during the initial takeaway. So with a conventional swing, you'll tend to see that the club head and the hands move a bit more straight back in the initial takeaway. Now with the stack and tilt golf swing, the knees are changing flex, the shoulders and the hips are turning more so on an angle. That will actually promote the hands and club to be moving more around the body or inwards in the initial takeaway. So the other key difference happens in transition from the top of the swing down into impact. So if we get into that typical conventional backswing here, okay, now you're often told from this position to really turn the hips and get the weight back onto the lead side while trying to shallow out the club. Okay? Now from here, in order for you to square up the face, you'll have to roll the wrists and kind of almost throw the club head past your hands, kind of like this. So from the top of the backswing here, if I have to try and coordinate me shifting my weight to my left side, me really turning my hips hard, and me trying to shallow out the shaft while throwing the club head and rolling my wrists to get the club head moving past the ball, there's just a lot of variables and a lot of things that I have to coordinate in order for me to time things correctly and get the club face to square and bottom out in the correct spot. Now with the stack and tilt golf swing, if we go to the top position here, with my body turned more so on an angle, my hands have moved more inwards and are deeper behind my body. When I'm turning my hips and pushing my hips to the left, you'll notice that my knees will regain their flex to where it's similar to my address position by the time the club reaches about parallel with the ground. Okay? And you'll notice that my hands and club are kind of returning or swinging back on that arc on which it traveled during the backswing. Okay? Now my club head is just slightly behind my hands, and then after I strike the ball, the club head will stay square to the arc, and my hands and club will continue to move more around my body. So with this method, the club head and the hands move or act a bit more passively, whereas with the conventional swing, when I come in and shift my weight to the left side and try to shallow out the face, I have to really throw my club head past my hands and roll the wrist, and that will require me to really open and close the club face a lot throughout the swing and have to time the club face very, very well. So now looking at it from the front view, since my centers are kind of staying on top of the ball, when I turn, okay, so all I'm going to be doing is I'm also going to turn my body, but my hips are going to push left as my head stays in the same spot. Okay, so if I'm turning my body, my hips are pushing left, I can easily bring the low point just ahead of the golf ball. There's a lot less variables, whereas in the conventional, my weight's moving off. Now I have the added pressure of having to move everything back into position. I'm really firing my hips and having to shallow the shaft. Instead of with the stack and tilt, you're just turning back and you're turning through with the hips pushing left. Alright, so those are just the key differences between what has typically been taught with the conventional swing versus what has been taught with the stack and tilt golf swing. Now, if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, please leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to clarify anything that you guys ask. Be sure to follow me on my Instagram at Jonathan K. Moss, but other than that, I will see you guys on the next video.